Hello, everyone. Welcome back once again. I'm Nicodemus Kane. Today is March the 27th of 2023. I took, 2 weeks off. Because I had to do some overtime because we have a trip planned down to Florida that we had to make some money for. I only did enough overtime to be able to make money for the trip, so that's about it. Plus, we changed jobs at work, and the job that we're doing now, I can't keep the quota up for. You gotta ease yourself into them. Whatever. It's not important. Anyways, I'm back. Uh, Miss doing this. It's been a while. Actually, while I was trying to get set up here, I started forgetting exactly how I had everything situated. But I got it now. I think we're back in the saddle here. It's been a long couple weeks. Just yesterday was just long by itself. But yeah, we're gonna be going down to Florida for a week. Everybody else is taking a vacation, as far as I'm concerned. Though I'm worried about getting down and making sure that my mother's house is good enough to be sold. I know we're selling it as is. We're probably not going to get as much out of it as you would think you need to, but hey, at this point, any little bit helps because she left a pretty decent amount of debt. So we're doing that. I've said it before and I'll say it again. If you are over the age of 50, even 40, and you have children, make a will. Get your estate in order so that if something happens to you suddenly, that they don't have to be punished for it. That's all I gotta say about it. Anyways, let's get on to Lamentations 4. I almost want to do, since we're going to be in Florida for a week, and I may not record again for a week. 1, 2, 3. I'm thinking that's 1, 2. Okay. So this is going to actually work out perfectly. And I hate whenever things work out extremely perfectly like this, but maybe it's a sign from the Father. Maybe it's just a sign that these things happen this way. I don't know. There are 2 more Lamentations, and there are 3 more chapters of Ecclesiastes. I've been reading both at the same time. So, Monday and Tuesday, Lamentations. Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday will be Ecclesiastes. And we will be done with both books. Then my trip, and then when we come back, we will start Ezekiel. I think that's going to work. I think that'll work. There's no way in the world I'm going to be able to record because I don't even know if I get to go. It's a long, drawn-out story. It's a long story, and I may wind up sleeping in the car because we cannot figure out what's going on. It was a last-minute thing, and they said, hey, do you want to go with us? I was like, okay, sure. Now it's like, well, now we got other people coming and you're getting kicked out. And I'm like, well, what? So I don't know. I'm going down to Florida no matter what. I took the week off. I'm going down. I have to check on the house before we sell it. I have to make sure that all of her stuff's out of there because like I said, we're selling the thing and all the furniture that's in there is getting sold. I can't sell the stuff. I can't be down there to sell the stuff. I don't have anybody down there that I can trust to sell the stuff. It's being sold as is. And so whoever goes in there gets all the furniture, all the everything. So good on them. But I have to get in there to see what's left. I know. It's just one of those. It's one of those sad situations that I can't control. But we have to do it. We have to do it. We have to get it done so that so that I can get Mom's estate settled. It's got to be done. Anyways, enough about me. Let us read God's Word today, because I need it. It has been a long 2 weeks. It has been a long 2 weeks. Not to mention, Saturday was Mom's birthday. And as much as I try not to really focus on people's birthdays, it was a day of thinking of her. So Saturday was not easy. Saturday was an ultimate day of rest for me. I try to do as much as possible to not think about it. But then, of course, yesterday I had to be at her house fixing her house. That's a whole nother story within itself. I'm not going to get into it. It's a lot, man. It's a lot. And yes, I say there's 2 houses. Whenever I say I go to her house and I'm selling her house, like, she has property in Florida and she has property up here in Indiana. So we're life, man. Father, give me strength. That's all I can say is, Father, give me strength. All right. Lamentations chapter 4. Yeah. How has the gold become dim? How has the most fine gold changed? The stones of the sanctuary are poured out in the top of every street. The precious sons of Zion, comparable to fine gold, how are they esteemed as earthen pitchers, the work of the hands of the potter? Even the sea monsters draw out the breast. They give suck to their young ones. The daughter of my people has become cruel, like the ostriches in the wilderness. The tongue of the suckling child cleaveth. Oh, I'm sorry. Let's try this again. The tongue of the sucking child cleaveth to the roof of his mouth for thirst. The young children ask bread, and no man breaketh it unto them. They that feed delicately are desolate in the streets. They that were brought up in scarlet embrace dunghills. They were that brought up in scarlet embrace dunghills. I got you. For the punishment of the iniquity of the daughter of my people is greater than the punishment of the sin of Sodom, that was overthrown as in a moment, and no hands stayed on her. Her Nazarites were purer than snow. They were whiter than milk. They were more ruddy in body than rubies. Their polishing was of sapphire. Their visage is blacker than a coal. They are not known in the streets. Their skin cleaveth to their bones. It is withered. It is become like a stick. They that be slain with the sword are better than they that be slain with hunger. For these pine away, stricken through for want of the fruits of the field. The hands of the pitiful women have sodden their own children. They were their meat in the destruction of the daughter of my people. The Lord hath accomplished his fury. He hath poured out his fierce anger, and hath kindled a fire in Zion, and it hath devoured the foundations thereof. The kings of the earth and all the inhabitants of the world would not have believed that the adversary, why did I say adversary? Adversary and the enemy should have entered into the gates of Jerusalem. All right, there's a pilcrow at 13. I think that's weird. The very last 2 verses of this, 21 and 22, are pilcrows. That's interesting. All right. So start going back up to the top. How has the gold become dim? How has the most fine gold changed? The stones of the sanctuary are poured out in the top of every street. Now, it's been 2 weeks, but Lamentations is still talking about how the cities have been brought down. Remember, this is Jeremiah that's talking. That even though he went out and he warned everybody, did the whole thing, we've talked about it a million times, about him being the ultimate conspiracy theorist, and nobody would listen to him, and he warned them over and over again. And when these things fell onto him, all he could do was sit there and weep and cry and lament, because he told them, don't do bad things. Follow what God tells you to do, over and over and over and over and over. And they just wouldn't listen. They took pleasure and pride in not following. And God brought the city down. That's exactly what's going to happen to all the rest of the places in the world right now. God has told us this. You're not going to listen to me. So when the time comes, I'm going to break your cities down. There will be nothing left. The gold has become dim. It is worthless. Which I've said this before. There's so many people are out there, and there's so many people that say, put your money in this, put your money in this, put your money in that. Make sure you have money in whatever. And I say, that means nothing. Your gold, your silver, it means nothing. When it really truly comes down to the end, it's not going to mean anything. If you're starving for bread, if you're starving for food, period, you're not going to find anything that you can buy with gold. Gold will be worthless. There will be people that will still care about what gold is worth. There will still be, because they will think that, eventually the thing about gold is that you would think that eventually society will get back to a point to where your gold would be worth something. For these people that were taken over by a conquering army, that gold meant nothing. Because all that conquering army did was just steal it and take it for themselves. You can't barter your way to freedom with tyrants. It doesn't work that way. They will take the gold and then they will establish how they use it. But in the end, your gold and your silver will be worthless. It will be worth nothing. Unless you think that you can magically make some kind of parallel economy in the end times. Is it possible? Sure, yes. I will say so. It's absolutely possible. But probably, if there's some kind of mass destruction on a scale that we've never seen, where you have a tyrannical army that is doing its best to try to take over the world, you and your gold will be worthless when you can't find food. So I think it's good for a short run, but for a long run, it's worthless. That's just my opinion, though. I mean, you could, setting up an inheritance for yourself, for your children, setting up a means to be able to pay for things. Yes. I mean, sure, you should store up some kind of a wealth. I understand that. But when it really comes down to it, when it gets to this point where the whole city has just been completely sacked and there's nothing left, your gold is worthless. It means nothing. On that one, I definitely have a different opinion than most other conspiracy theorists. Your Bitcoin ain't gonna mean nothing. I'll tell you that right now. Your Bitcoin is going to be worthless. Your dollars are going to be worthless. Your gold is going to be worthless. It's going to be about survival at that point. Your gold will be worthless whenever you come across a group of strangers that really, really want food, and you try to offer them gold for them not to eat you. What do you think's going to happen? Or if you want to try to buy food, I'm a realist, man. I'm not I don't sit there and think that everything's going to be all butterflies and unicorns. It's going to be pretty bad. And as lawless and as evil as this world has become, when the shit really hits the fan, days of Noah. That's all I gotta say. Days of Noah. People are eating each other in the streets. It's gonna be terrible. Anyways, verse 2. The precious sons of Zion, comparable to fine gold. How are they esteemed as earthen pitchers, the work of the hands of the potter? The precious sons of Zion, that were comparable to fine gold. How are they esteemed as earthen pitchers, which are just work of the potters, which are nothing? Pitchers are nothing. Pitchers are just vessels for carrying water. So what? But these were the sons of Zion that were esteemed as high gold, that are worthless now. Even the sea monsters. I love this kind of stuff. Even the sea monsters. Dragons, serpents, the Leviathan, the world snake, the Ouroboros, whatever you want to call it. There is some kind of serpent. Now, according to the Bible in different places, God has already killed the serpent. He killed Leviathan in order for somebody to eat. I don't think it was the Israelites in the wilderness. It says that somewhere in the later chapters, where he killed the Leviathan to eat. But everybody has talked about this sea monster, this great sea monster in the sea, this snake creature, this dragon creature that comes out of the waters. Japan talks about the dragon that comes out of the waters. Supposedly, the reason that we were all isolationists, according to their history, for however many thousands of years, is because they were worried about sea monsters in the water or falling off the earth. I think that's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard in my life, but that's what they tell us. You have the stories, and I love to talk about the telephoning of stories down through the ages of different sea creatures that will come up and swallow whole boats, or will sea captains like Moby Dick that will go and hunt these giant creatures. I don't believe that leviathans are whales. I don't. I think they're talking about an absolute sea creature. I've talked about different places on the earth, and there's other guys that talk about this kind of stuff too, where it almost looks like, and I can't prove it or not, but it almost looks like there's bones of creatures on the earth that look like dragons. There's one in northern Africa. There's a mountain range that's very similar to a dragon, what you would consider to be what we would call a dragon. It has a head, it has a spine, it has wings. There's another one, even though I know that it's not an actual thing, but I talked about it before. If you look at the map of North America, and if you turn it 90 degrees clockwise, the head starts in the Mississippi, and it looks like it goes down through the mountain ranges, like it slithers down through the mountain ranges. I showed that picture of Quetzalcoatl, where, it's the dragon. Of course, there's the whole picture is it's a dragon eating a man, but if you take that picture and kind of look at, the picture of North America, they look similar. It's the same kind of, the neck bends the same, the head looks exactly where it should be, and the spines. And I at the time said, why is this like this? Because where the head is, it's not a mountain range, it's a valley. But when you look at it from overhead, it looks like a dragon. And this all comes back to a dragon. Hold on one second. You can tell I haven't done any recordings in 2 weeks because my voice is starting to crack just by talking too much. But this all comes back to a dragon, to that snake the snake in the garden, the dragon that is in the sky that tries to eat the baby that the virgin has, that serpent of old, Satan, the devil. That's what it always comes back to. There's more to the story than just what you read on the surface. Even the sea monsters draw out the breast. They give suck to their young ones. The daughter of my people is become cruel like the ostriches in the wilderness. Even the sea monsters draw out the breast. They give suck to their young ones like mammals. Really? Like mammals? I gotta know though. I gotta know if how do whales and mammals give live births just like humans? Baby whales are born in the water and can come either head first. Baby whales eat by nourishing from their mom. Their mom produces milk using her mammary glands. Wow. I gotta know though. Now, why is it whenever I look up, is there just no legends about dragons giving birth other than just being in eggs and how they eat? I mean, really? This says even the sea monsters draw out the breast. They give suck to their young ones. This could be talking about the whales. Could very easily be talking about the whales. This is not talking about a sea serpent. This is sea monsters, even though the word in here, what did I say it was? Dragon, serpent, sea monster, dragon, dinosaur, sea or river monster, serpent, venomous snake, a marine or land monster. Now, I cannot find anything about how dragons feed their young. Now, according to our legends, of course, it says, dragons are born in eggs like big lizards. I don't know. I can say this much, though. If this is talking about whales, which I don't think it is, if this is talking about whales, then that means that these people were able to get out into the seas and the oceans enough that they could see whales letting their children suck. Think about that for a second. I hope that they were isolationists. They didn't know any better. they didn't know any better, and yet 400 years before Christ, they were able to know that whale babies are able to get milk from their mothers. Come on now. Come on. Do you see how this works? You see where the truth is and where they tell you things don't work? These people were not isolationists. They were not afraid of sea. They might have been afraid of sea monsters, but these people were able to travel everywhere. I've said it over and over again. There's no reason why there are Mississippian cultures in North America that share the same exact gods, even though they have different names. They share the same exact gods as Babylonian and Assyrian peoples. There's no way at all. You cannot tell me that was just pockets of isolationists. Verse 4, let's keep going. The tongue of the sucking child cleaveth to the roof of his mouth for thirst. The young children ask bread, and no man breaketh it unto them. Which could very easily be a metaphor for the reborn Christian, the babe is constantly asking for milk. I can tell you this right now, man. We got a baby in the house right now. He is 6 months old. He is eating all the time. He's getting to be a big boy too. He's eating a lot, but he is constantly asking for food. When you are reborn in Christ's name, you are constantly asking for the milk, for the sustenance of the word. Remember, you get milk when you're a child, but when you are ready to move up to meat, to the true, honest fulfillment of the word, that's when you really get into it. That's when you've learned all you can as a child, and you've moved on to it. The young children ask bread, and no man breaketh it unto them. Remember, we get the bread of life. The word itself is the bread. Christ broke the bread. He said, "Eat this, for it is my flesh. This is my bread. This is who I am. This is my word." Christ was the Word made flesh. He is the bread of life. You eat the bread. You take the word into you. This is something I say every year at Passover. Passover's coming up too. We're going to be in Florida on vacation when Passover hits. At least the way that we're going to, the times that we're going to celebrate. I know people have so many different times that they celebrate Passover. But Passover's coming up next week. And for us, and anyways, I until somebody wants to sit me down and tell me exactly when these things are, I have to follow whatever I have to follow. But I said there's no way that we can. I'm going to try to see if my wife could make some unleavened bread for us so that we can at least, celebrate. But we're not going to celebrate the Feast of Unleavened Bread until we get back. It's not going to be possible for us to be out and not, be able to do that. It's possible to do that. It even says it in the Bible. These guys were preparing themselves for the Feast of Unleavened Bread, and they had disposed of a dead body or something. And the law said when you dispose of a body, you had to be cleansed for 7 days. You couldn't touch anything, you couldn't go anywhere, you couldn't do anything. So they went to Aaron, I think it was, and they asked him, they said, "Can we do this?" So he went and prayed to God, and he said yes. So when you are done becoming cleansed, you can celebrate the Feast of Unleavened Bread. So that's what we're going to do. I'm not going to be able to do it while we're out on vacation, but we're going to do it when we get back. And it's good too. It's good for you. It's, we come out of that week and we feel amazing. I don't know why people have such a hard time with it. You'd rather go and eat a whole bunch of chocolate and Easter eggs and the whole deal. Hey man, you go do those satanic rituals of evil. You go worship the Queen of Heaven. We're going to be over here. We're going to be following what God says. People don't like to hear that. Well, you know what? I don't care. It's not up to me. I do care, actually, but I can't help you if you're not going to listen. And so many people just don't want to listen. They want to make their children as happy as possible. Well, you want to make your children happy? You want to really give them something worthwhile? Teach them about the Father. Teach them about why the things happen the way that they happen. Tell them the truth. Why we gotta lie to them? Why we gotta make up the Easter Bunny? Why do we have to make up the Easter Bunny and hide eggs? You know what's sad? To show you how people have manipulated the festivals of God, the things that we're supposed to do, is that One of the Passover books that I had, that I was reading, not only was talking about how to do the Seder, how to make the dinner, do all the stuff, whatever, but it was talking about games that you could do. One of the games was to take pieces of unleavened bread, or maybe toys or whatever it is, and hide them around the house so that the kids could find them. And I said, wait a minute. Are you telling me that you would mix those rituals of Easter into a Passover dinner just to make the kids happy? Yeah, my granddaughter's 4 years old. And I know that there's some things that she doesn't like, that she says it's boring. This is so boring, Papa. I'm like, yeah, I know. I know it's boring, but it's stuff that we have to do. But when I just sit there and talk to her honestly, she loves it. Because I don't lie to her. I will tell her about the world, about giants, about all these things, and she just eats it up. She loves it. Now, if I were to go to her and start talking to her about the Easter Bunny and Santa Claus and things like that, which I have heard other people do, it's like she just tunes out. She just goes into some different place. She becomes greedy. I've heard people talk to her about Santa Claus, and the first thing she starts talking about is Christmas. It's greed. What are we doing to our kids? Tell them the truth. They want to hear the truth. Children want to hear the truth. Why would you want to lie to them? Why would you want to base your entire relationship with your child on a lie? It is sickening. And for anybody that comes on me and tells me, oh, well, you're not supposed to worry about following the law, you're not supposed to worry about this, you can celebrate whatever you want to, however you want to. The first thing I got to say to that is, no. Because your holidays, your rituals, your satanic nonsense that you do, you have to lie in order to get it to work. Not only do you have to lie to yourself, you have to lie to your kids, you have to lie to your family. You have to go out of your way to lie to make it work. I don't have to lie to make mine work. All I have to do is tell the truth. And it's beautiful. And we feel better and lifted because of it. That's neither here nor there. And for all the people that always say, oh, he babbles too much. Oh, he just keeps going on about the most nonsense stuff ever, which I've heard several people say that. You know what? I don't care. You don't like it? Go make your own. That's all I gotta say. You don't like my videos? Go make your own. Verse 5, is that where we are? Verse 5. They that did feed delicately are desolate in the streets. They that were brought up in scarlet embrace dunghills. That is such a line. They that were brought up in scarlet embrace dunghills. They that did feed delicately are desolate in the streets. Those that fed, okay, let me see if I can find that word. They that did feed delicately, dainty, delicacy. Those that ate the delicacies of this world. Those that were brought up in scarlet, which is... There is a big long thing about female worms. What is this? Scarlet dyes, which I'm guessing is probably more rare than some of the other dyes. I know that blue was the rarest of the dyes, but scarlet was probably one too. So those that were rich are now brought down, embracing dunghills. Verse 6, for the punishment of the iniquity of the daughter of my people is greater than the punishment of the sin of Sodom. Think about that one for a second. The sin of Sodom. What was the sin of Sodom? Well, you know what the sin of Sodom was. But the punishment of the iniquity of the daughter of my people. And that was just turning away from God. You got to remember, he destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah because they were a sexually perverse people. Extremely sexually perverse. But when it comes to turning away from God, the best example I have is the golden calf. Moses and God went up to the top of the mountain to have a talk. While they were up there, everybody else down on the ground was like, hey, let's build a golden calf and let's say that it's for our God. That's something that people always get wrong, is that they wanted to worship another God. No, they wanted to worship the Most High, the one that pulled them out of Egypt. So they built a calf for him. Let's build this beautiful thing for him. God and Moses came back down, and God said, no, do not worship me the way that you worship other gods. And then bam, automatically 3,000 people dead. Just like that. Just like that. Do not worship me the way that you worship other gods. This is the time of mixing. Jeremiah, all of this was the time of mixing God's word with the words of the pagans. This is what, 400, 400, 500 years before the birth of Christ. By the time Christ came, this mixing had already become a thing, that people had forgotten the old ways, that this mixing had become so prevalent that they were just letting anything go. They didn't care. That's why Christ said, the workers of iniquity have already started. They've already started changing my words. They've already started changing everything. It's already starting to happen. And then Christ came, and then everything got changed again. Because they started taking Christ's words itself and started manipulating that around to the way they wanted it. And then it was supposedly 400 years after that they said, okay, fine, we can't beat the Christians. Let's go ahead and join them. But when we join them, we're going to change everything so that it fits our lives. It's exactly what it was. Constantine didn't become a Christian. Constantine changed his Roman pagan gods so that you would worship them. That the more we read these, especially Jeremiah, we're going to get into Ezekiel too. It's going to happen the same way. The more we've read of these, and the more I keep seeing it over and over again, is exactly what that says on verse 6. For the punishment of the iniquity of the daughter is greater than the punishment of the sin of Sodom. Not following God is worse than any other sin. That doesn't mean that you should go out and commit a lower sin, because that's just as bad too. But mixing God's word, not following his ways, that's worse than the sin of Sodom. Think about that first. In my mind, but again, nobody wants to hear that. Everybody likes to have their Easter candy. Everybody likes to let the kids go out and hunt for eggs. Fuck's sakes. For the punishment of the iniquity of the daughter of my people is greater than the punishment of the sin of Sodom, that was overthrown as in a moment, and no hand stayed on her. Verse 7. Her Nazarites were purer than snow. They were whiter than milk. They were more ruddy in body than rubies. Their polishing was of sapphire. But now their visage is blacker than a coal. They are not known in the streets. Their skin cleaveth to their bones, like you are starving. It is withered. It is become like a stick. Her Nazarites. Who were the Nazarites? Consecrated or devoted ones. Her devoted ones, which were purer than snow, whiter than milk. These were the good, best people. Now they are starving in the streets. Their visage, they have turned black because they are dying. Or is it because that's what the color they are? I don't know. That's up for you to find out. I can tell you what, though. This is saying that their skin cleaveth to their bones. It is withered. It has become like a stick. So these people are starving. They are withering away. And their visage, the way they look, is blacker than a coal. They're not ruddy anymore. His devoted ones. They're not ruddy anymore. They become black as coal. Because they're withered to sticks. For those that know, you know. I'm not going to go into it because I can't even talk about it on YouTube. Verse 9, they that be slain with the sword are better than they that be slain with hunger. For these pine away, stricken through for want of the fruits of the field. The hands of the pitiful women have sodden their own children. They were their meat in the destruction of the daughter of my people. The hands of the pitiful women have sodden their own children. What does that mean? The hands of the pitiful women. Pitiful. Compassionate. The hands of the compassionate women have sodden. Ooh. I had a feeling that's exactly what that meant. The hands of the compassionate women have boiled and cooked their own children. They were their meat in the destruction of the daughter of my people. When the catastrophe happens, your gold will be worthless because you will be food. I've said it before and I'll say it again. Your gold will be worthless. The only people that will be left to worry about whether the gold is worth anything or not will be the meat eaters. No one likes hearing that. Oh, that's disgusting. It's terrible. It's horrible. Well, you know what? It's in your Bible. I just read it. You may skim through this and read right over that. You may hear a pastor or preacher in a church that will just read through it, skim right over it, and not even say a word about it. He may not even touch this at all because it's not part of what he is told to read. You have to remember, you go to a seminary school to be taught what to preach to the people. You go to your government 501c or whatever it is so that they can tell you what to tell to the people. I'm just here to tell you the whole truth. I may be wrong 100%, but I just read that right there. These are the best of the women were eating their own children. Because when everything goes down, everything falls apart, and it becomes as what I think the days of Noah were. It was 120 years where they just didn't give a crap. The destruction was looming, and they just kept getting worse and worse. You see, you get so sinful and so greedy that you stop worrying about food. No one's out there tilling the fields or, making the crops or whatever it is because they're too busy having fun. So the food gets less and less because everybody's just, the debauchery just gets over the top. So eventually people start finding out, hey, we don't have any food anymore. What are we going to do? Well, what's the simplest thing? Just start eating each other. That's where we are now. People are talking about eating each other, drinking each other's blood, and eating human flesh. What was the one I was listening to? It's probably in China, but it was one of those countries where they were talking about eating people, and it was only like small pieces of flesh, but it was enough that they're advertising this, where you can go to a place and supposedly get pieces of human flesh to try. There was something on the news about somebody was eating a piece of brain. It was just like, it's getting to that point. It's getting to that point to where they're trying to convince you now, in this time, that eating people's okay. The worst of the sins. God said that from the very beginning. Don't drink the blood. Don't eat other people. Don't do that. Because he's seen where that goes. And it's disgusting. The giants, when they could not feast upon themselves, or when they could not eat, when they ate all the things of the humans, they turned on the humans. When they could not eat any more of the humans, they turned on each other. Cannibalism is where a lot of this ends. Where was it at? The hands of the pitiful women, the compassionate women. This wording has been changed to where it does not mean the hands of the compassionate women, those that were the most compassionate, have cooked their own children. I just got a chill because of that. Verse 11, let's keep going though. I don't want to sit here and talk about cannibalism all the time I'm doing this. The Lord hath accomplished his fury. He hath poured out his fierce anger, and hath kindled a fire in Zion, and it hath devoured the foundations thereof. You will be hearing a lot about fury in Ezekiel. The kings of the earth and all the inhabitants of the world would not have believed that the adversary and his enemy should have entered into the gates of Jerusalem. No, because they were protected. They were given the promise by God. God said, follow me and do the things that I tell you to do, and I will protect you for the rest of your life. Oh, but you didn't do it. So I'm removing that barrier. I've said it over and over again. God is the barrier that keeps us from being hurt by the evils of this world. Almost every other day, I ask the Father to put a barrier around my house, a barrier of protection around my house, a barrier of protection around my family. Full armor of God is what it's called. Put the barrier of protection around us. Keep evil spirits, evil thoughts, evil deeds, anything away from us, so that we may live in some kind of righteousness in this sick and evil, twisted world. Verse 13. For the sins of her prophets and the iniquities of her priests, they have shed the blood of the just in the midst of her. They have wandered as blind men in the streets. They have polluted themselves with blood, so that men could not touch their garments. They cried unto them. I gotta take a drink. Hold on a second. You remember what I said is that I haven't talked in a while. Honestly, when I'm at work, I don't say anything for like 8 hours a day. And then usually when I get done with work, I don't really say that much anyways. I don't speak unless I really need to speak. So to just sit here and talk like this after 2 weeks of not talking, oh man. So they have wandered as blind men in the streets. They have polluted themselves with blood so that men could not touch their garments. Verse 15. They cried unto them, Depart ye, it is unclean. Depart, depart, touch not. When they fled away and wandered, they said among the heathen, They shall no more sojourn there. The anger of the Lord hath divided them. He will no more regard them. They respected not the persons of the priests. They favored not the elders. As for us, our eyes are as yet failed from our... Let's try this one again. As for us, our eyes as yet failed for our vain help. In our watching, we have watched for a nation that could not save us. They hunt our steps, that we cannot go in our streets. Our end is near. Our days are fulfilled, and our end is come. Our persecutors are swifter than the eagles of the heaven. They pursued us upon the mountains. They laid wait for us in the wilderness. I have a tickle growing in the back of my throat, and it will not go away. Verse 20, the breath of our nostrils and the anointed of the Lord was taken in their pits, of whom we said, Under his shadow we shall live among the heathen. All right, there's a Pilcrow at 21. So let's go back. Yeah, it's just right there in the back of my throat. It's tickling. It's making me want to cough. So back up to 13. For the sins of her prophets and the iniquities of her priests that have shed the blood of the just in the midst of her. They have wandered as blind men in the streets. They have polluted themselves with blood, so that men could not touch their garments. That whole section right there. For the sins of her prophets and the iniquities of her priests. Now, we have seen in different places where it was the priests and the prophets that were telling the people to either run away or to fight back or to do whatever. Jeremiah warned everybody about this. Don't listen to those that tell you this. God says this is going to come and this is going to happen whether you like it or not. And there was one guy, cannot remember his name right now, that came up and he said, oh no, this is all going to be done tomorrow. We're going to be just fine. We're going to be good. All you got to do is just, fight back. And Jeremiah told him that. No, this is not what's going to happen. I pray to God that this is what's going to happen. I pray that you're right. But it's not right. And what happened, I think did that prophet get killed or something? I think he did. I don't remember exactly what it was now. But a lot of it was that it was the prophets and the priests that were manipulating the people a certain way. They were skimming off of the top. They were taking more for themselves and causing God's word. It was in the very beginning of Jeremiah, right before I started talking about Christmas and Easter and all the other stuff. But it was talking about the priests and the prophets were doing things for themselves, doing more for themselves than they were for God, doing more for themselves than they were to teach the people the truth. So for the sins of her prophets and the iniquities of her priests that have shed the blood of the just in the midst of her. Now, could that be where, like I was talking about, they were saying, if you just fight back, you'll be fine? Or could this be something else. Because they were passing their children over the fires of Molech. Talked about this many times. That eventually the sacrifices, the animal sacrifices, turned into something else. Now, I know the Bible doesn't expressly say that, but it does say they were causing their children to pass over the fires. If you're mixing enough of your rituals with pagan rituals, it's going to happen eventually. Do I think Jerusalem was that bad? I don't know. I really don't know. But it was bad enough. It was worse than the sins of Sodom and Gomorrah. Something was going on there. Something pretty nasty. And when we look in Ezekiel, they talk about no matter how bad it is on the surface. Like if you think that, there's a priest over there that's, getting a little cut off the side, and, he's taking a little bit of money for himself, he's doing this, he's doing that, and then you peek in the hole in the wall, and you find out that all of them inside of the temple, in the back rooms of the temple, are all praying to the sun in the east. That's a problem. They're mixing the worship. So yes, I personally entirely think it's possible. Yes, they were literally shedding the blood of the just. Think about this for a second. It was the priests and the prophets and the princes that said that Jeremiah needed to be killed because he was speaking against the people. They were the ones that wanted Jeremiah dead. They were more than happy to kill him simply because he was telling them how evil they were. So you think it's possible that they were killing the just? The blood was on their hands? I still think so. I think there's a lot more to this Bible. Whenever we read through these and somebody reads something like that and they say, oh, it's just, it's just a metaphor. It's not, you just take it as poetry. It's just poetry. The Bible's poetry. Well, if the Bible's poetry, then Jesus didn't really exist. Because if you claim that parts of it aren't real, then none of it can be real. You don't get to pick and choose. When somebody has a dream and they expressly say, I am having a dream, and things get all weird and you talk about monsters with 20 eyes and all these other kinds of things, and stuff like that. And you get to talk about nation states as animals, and that's one thing. That's a dream. When you say stuff like this, though, and it's expressly saying they were killing the people, they were using the blood, they were doing this, they were doing that, and there's nowhere else in here where it talks about them having a dream, I have to take it literally. We know these things happened. We know these things still happen. Satanic ritual abuse is still a thing. So why wouldn't they be doing these things? We know that we've mixed and matched, or we've mixed up and we've confused the true, I don't want to say religion, the true meanings, the true word of God. We've mixed them with pagan nonsense in order to fit our worldviews. Why can't this literally mean that they were killing the just to fit their sacrificial rituals? They have shed the blood of the just in the midst of her. They have wandered as blind men in the streets. They have polluted themselves with blood, so that men could not touch their garments, because you cannot touch the blood. One of the laws stated that if you touch blood, you had to be cleansed for 7 days. There's something to that. I've said that before somewhere. Why is it so important that we do not touch other people's blood? Other than getting, diseases or whatever. There's something important to that. I still haven't completely figured it out yet. But God has gone out of his way to tell us not to touch other people's blood, not to eat the flesh, not to do all the other kind of stuff. So maybe we shouldn't be doing that kind of stuff. You have those. When I was coming up as a boy, we were always taught about being blood brothers. You always mix your blood with a brother. Be a blood brother. I never understood how that is actually witchcraft within itself. Mixing the blood with other people is actually a witchcraft. It is some kind of... It's a way of saying that it's a blood pact. There you go. There's one. They always talk about signing a contract in blood to the devil. It's this blood over intentions thing that, is out there. It's just completely satanic and absurd, but people still follow this. I was watching a video the other day. There's a guy that's still doing blood over intent. It's like, dude, come on, man. But that's exactly what it is. There's something to the blood. I don't know what it is. I probably know what it is. I just don't have the words to express it right yet. But it goes out of its way to say, if you touch blood, 7 days. 7 days, go cleanse yourself. It's like, what the heck? I've already said before, though, that's why they tell people they can't circumcise their children or their boys until the 8th day. Because the mothers and the children both have to be put up for 7 days. And then the boy is circumcised on the 8th day. And then there's a whole bunch of other stuff that comes after that. I don't really remember exactly what it is, but we don't follow any of it. We don't follow a damn bit of it. I've gone on about it over and over again, is that this whole nativity scene that you get with Jesus, it's just not real. There would be no kings that would come as soon as, the day that Christ was born. It's not possible. There's no way in the world that they would have had the baby in a barn. I don't think it was a barn. Manger, the word manger, I think is more about just a lowly room, a small room, an estate room, or not an estate room, a room of an estate off to the side, like a maid's room, a servant's quarters. They wouldn't have had it around animals because animals were not clean. I've seen nativity scenes with pigs. What is that? It's pigs. But you wouldn't have had that. You wouldn't have done that. At best, the people that would have been in the room would have been maybe Joseph. I don't know. I don't even know about that. He might not have been in the room because, it was a woman. There would have been at least been a midwife there. She may have had her own midwife. I don't even know. So there would have been at least 3 people, if she had one. If she didn't, that were traveling back up to this census or whatever it was. But since she would have had to have been put away for 7 days, and they could not have lived in a place where they were, and he would have had to have gone to this census thing that he did. They would have had to have dwelt in tents for 7 days. That's the festival of Sukkot. Isn't that what it is? Sukkot? No, that's Sukkot. That's I'm an idiot. Don't listen to me. What am I doing? That is Sukkot. I was right. That's where you dwell in. I was right. Beginning on the 15th day of the month of Tishrei. Is that right? Tishrei? One of the 3 pilgrimage festivals. Because you got to remember, they all were supposed to come back. It's the Harvest Festival. It's in September. It would have been after he was born. I don't know if I want to believe the whole Christ was born on September 11th thing. You know what? It's possible. It's at this point, it's entirely possible. We're getting way off track here, though. Anyways, we're getting way off track. There's something about the blood. I know. You got me talking, so I'm talking. 15, they cried unto them, Depart ye, it is unclean. Depart, depart, touch not. When they fled away and wandered, they said among the heathen, They shall no more sojourn there. The prophets and the priests that were worried about touching stuff, they were telling the heathens that we can't be here anymore. It is unclean. We have to leave. 16, the anger of the Lord hath divided them. He will no more regard them. He will no more regard them. They respected not the persons of the priests. They favored not the elders. As for us, our eyes as yet failed for our vain help. In our watching we have watched for a nation that could not save us. They hunt our steps. They cannot go in our streets. Our end is near. Our days are fulfilled. For our end is come. And that's self-explanatory. Our persecutors are swifter than the eagles of the heaven. There's something about the eagles of the heaven. About the fact that the eagle being such a predatory bird that has been used for years and years. I've talked about this before, from Mesopotamia to Egypt to Assyria to Babylon to Greece, Rome, America, the eagle, over and over again. I still think there's something interesting, though, when it talks about South America and the plumed serpent, the snake with wings, and the place right in between, Mexico, is the eagle fighting the serpent on the flag. It's a image of an eagle that's attacking a snake. I just find that interesting that America is the eagle, South America is the snake, Mexico is the snake eating the serpent. It's interesting stuff, man. It really is. But our persecutors are swifter than the eagles of heaven. They pursued us on the mountains. They laid wait for us in the wilderness. They got you wherever you went. The breath of our nostrils, the anointed of the Lord, was taken in their pits, of whom we said, Under his shadow we shall live among the heathen. Under his shadow, under God's shadow, we shall live among the heathen. We shall hide ourselves among the heathen so that they cannot find us anymore. There is always going to be a remnant. They will always be out there. Let me see if it actually was taken in their pits, of whom we said, and it doesn't say anything about taking on their beliefs or their rituals. I mean, you're already doing that anyways. You're already mixing as it was. But there's nothing in there about becoming something else. It's just under God's shadow we shall live among the heathen. Now again, if you were to put this into terms of how life is now, because all these things tend to correlate with what's going on in the world, this is only talking about a few people that live among the heathen, not the many. We can go on and on and on about the broad path, or the broad way and the narrow path. That's what it is. And I tell you all the time, if you ever want to know if you're sinning, if you're doing something in sin or not, if you're following the ways of this world or if you're following the ways of God, the easiest way to know is to tell yourself, the litmus test, is it something that everybody is following or only a few people are following? Because it's a broad way where all the people are doing it, or it's a narrow path where only a portion of the people are doing it. It's the same as it is here. I'm saying right here, we shall live among the heathen. We shall hide under God's shadow, and we shall live among the heathen in pockets of people. Eventually he will call them back, and they will go back to where it was. But for that moment, they have to hide in the shadows. Well, isn't secrecy and hiding in the shadows, isn't that a bad thing? Even Christ hid himself among the peoples when the Roman guards came. You know, people don't seem to understand that either. I've heard people talk about that before, about, well, Christ, he wasn't afraid of anything. He would stand up to whatever and do this and do that. No, when Christ knew it was time to run, he ran. It says it several times that, he would stand up and preach until he pissed everybody off. And then whenever the crowds got too crazy and wild, he and his apostles would flee. It says in the book that he was almost able to move through the crowd in order to get out, as if he was intangible. I just read the book, man. It's these kinds of things that all the times that I've gone to church and I've listened to people talk, and I've done a fair amount of it. I have not devoted my entire life to it, so don't even start thinking that I'm, one of those guys. But I've listened to people say these things because I tried to find it at one point in time, and it just wasn't my time yet. They would not talk about that stuff. I'm trying to figure out the whole book. I really am. I need to know, man. I need to know. Verse 21. Should we do them both together? Let's do them separately. Why not? Verse 21. Rejoice and be glad, O daughter of Edom, that dwellest in the land of Uz. The cup also shall pass through unto thee. Thou shalt be drunken, and shalt make thyself naked. Let's read it again. Rejoice and be glad, O daughter of Edom. Those that came from Edom, those came from the top, those the ones that were cursed because they were the son of Lot. That dwellest in the land of Uz, the cup shall pass through unto thee. You will wind up taking all of this unto yourself too. Thou shalt be drunken, and shalt make thyself naked. You shall fall under this just like everybody else. Because that's what you want. You want to be drunken and naked, and you don't even care. They didn't have God like the Israelites did, like Jerusalem did. They didn't have it. They were that debaucherous place, kind of like Sodom and Gomorrah. All they wanted to do was get drunk and have fun and party and all the crazy stuff. But you can rejoice and be glad, O daughter of Edom, because this is all coming for you. Verse 22, the punishment of thine iniquity is accomplished, O daughter of Zion. He will no more carry thee away into captivity. He will visit thine iniquity, O daughter of Edom. He will discover thy sins. So, one more time. The punishment of thine iniquity is accomplished, O daughter of Zion. He will no more carry thee away into captivity. He will visit thine iniquity, O daughter of Edom. He will discover thy sins. So he is no more carrying his people into captivity anymore. That he will, because you have to remember, they also, when, what was it, Judah that was taken over? Where was Jeremiah at? I think he was in Judah. I don't remember. He was up there talking to them, and they threw him into a prison. And then the Babylonians came, took it over, and they released Jeremiah. And they told him, you can go wherever you want. You can do whatever you want. Our master told us that you could be freed. Why? Because Nebuchadnezzar, he was God's servant in this. Was Nebuchadnezzar a God-fearing man, religious man? Was he a Christian, Israelite, whatever you want to call it? No. He was just doing what God told him to do. I'm going to give you all this because my people have been bad. I would love to hear the other side of this. I really would. I would love to hear the other side of this where Nebuchadnezzar, knew that their God has told me that I can go take them over. Let's go do it. I'd love to see what his side of this was. But he was in that place, and he was allowed to be freed, but he was allowed to travel up to they were allowed to go up to Edom or something like that. And that place got taken over too. So the Israelites that were there said, okay, well, let's go flee to Egypt. And the entire time Jeremiah's like, look, just be taken captive. You're going to have a bad time with this. And they're like, no. We're going to keep moving. We're going to keep doing this. We're going to keep going. So they traveled back down to Egypt. And then they were taken captive there too, because the Babylonians didn't stop. They just kept going. They steamrolled through everything because that's what their job was. And no matter what they did, the Israel, they just could not get away from it. They could not get away from the Babylonians at all. And the entire time, Jeremiah's just following along, being like, look, man, just get taken captive. This is getting ridiculous. No, we got to keep moving. You're part of them. You were released. You were released by the Babylonians. You're just trying to get us captured. That's why they weren't listening to him. It's like, no. It wasn't because of that. It's because God said, Nebuchadnezzar will be my servant. God pulled this down upon your head because this is what he said would happen. But you didn't want to listen. The whole thing, man. The whole thing, when you read it like that, it's good stuff, man. It's good stuff. It's crazy though, but it's just like it is today. People don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear the things are bad. I only want to hear things that are good. Yeah, you want those false prophets that will speak the soft words that will tickle your ears. They'll tell you it's A-okay. Everything's all right. Don't worry. God's got us. Don't worry about it. God's got us. Oh, he's going to get you all right. He's going to get you because he warned you over and over and over again. Don't do this. Don't do that. But nobody wants to listen because it's just going to keep happening because nobody cares. Anyways, I'm going to stop there. As always, I say, don't ever listen to me. Don't ever take my word as scripture or proof or anything. Don't ever do that. Find it for yourself. I am here trying to figure it out for myself. I'm putting it together the way that I see it. My word is not the law. You want the honest truth? You pray to the Father. There is no man in this earth that can give you accurate teachings. A lot of people can argue that. And a lot of people are being misled by other men. You may think that your preacher, who's been teaching for 30, 40 something years, you may think that he has the full truth. And he might. He very well might have the full truth. I don't know. But if he's not following the simplest of the commandments of God, and I'm not even talking about the law. If he can't follow the simplest of the commandments, the 10 commandments that we're supposed to live by, that's supposed to be written into our hearts, that we're supposed to want to follow every day. If he can't follow the simplest ones, the very first one, thou shalt have no God other than me, which the subcategory of that is, do not worship me the way that the pagans worship me. If they can't get over that very first hump, if it doesn't pass the litmus test of broad ways versus narrow paths, then he's a false teacher. Sorry. Sorry. I'm not a teacher. I'm not a prophet. I'm not a priest. I am just a guy. I'm trying my best to figure this out and not lead anyone astray. I will put on my profiting hat here, though, and I will say that 329 is still a thing. So March 29th, we should probably keep an eye out for. And I haven't said it because I haven't been recording, but I've been thinking about it because March. What was the day? What was the one that I said on the last recordings that at the time was coming up? I can't remember what it was. It was something one of the days, and then something happened. And I read it and I said, well, there it is. I can't think of it now because it was like last Saturday or something. I can't think of what it was. I don't know. Anyways, be careful out there. I had a guy at a drive-thru told me to stay safe and be careful. So I think he had to say it too. He told me to stay safe, and it wasn't even 15 minutes after that a car ran a red light in front of me, and I was like, yeah, stay safe. You're right. So I'm gonna say that. Stay safe. Read your Bibles. Pray to God. Find the truth. Find the total truth. Don't just half-ass it. Find the truth. Find out what God really wants us to know. For crying out loud, quit lying to your children. Alright, I shall talk to you later. God bless everyone. Take care of yourselves. And I'll see you tomorrow. We'll finish up Lamentations. Cool. And it's kind of short, too. Awesome. Alright. I'll see y'all then.